The Qin Dynasty, the first to unify China, was built on the strength of its army, ruthless, disciplined, and highly organized. Qin's military was a war machine unlike anything before it. But what made them so powerful? And how would they fare against one of the most legendary forces in history, the Roman legion?
To understand the dominance of a Qin army, we have to go beyond just their weapons and numbers. Their military success was a result of revolutionary strategies, iron discipline, and a level of organization that was ahead of its time. But when we compare them to the Romans, we start to see fascinating differences in tactics, equipment, and battlefield philosophy.
The Qin military was built on a strict chain of command. Every soldier, from the lowest footman to the highest general, was bound by clear rules of discipline and reward. The army was divided into units of 5, 10, 100, and 1,000, ensuring tight control over battlefield movements.
That's remarkably similar to the Roman legion's organization. Roman soldiers were arranged into centuries of 80 men, led by a centurion, forming larger cohorts and ultimately legions of around 5,000 men. The Romans also valued discipline, but their command structure allowed for more individual initiative, whereas Qin's system emphasized absolute obedience to orders.
And the Qin military hierarchy was meritocratic. Commanders earned their ranks through proven battlefield success, not just noble birth.
Same with Rome. Legionaries could rise through the ranks if they proved themselves in battle. However, Rome had professional standing armies, while Qin soldiers were largely conscripts or career warriors tied to the state's strict laws. This difference would affect how they fought in a prolonged campaign.
Qin's army wielded some of the most advanced weaponry of its time. Their bronze swords were longer and stronger than those of their rivals, allowing them to strike with greater reach. They also pioneered the use of crossbows, giving their troops a deadly advantage in ranged combat.
That's a key difference. The Romans relied on iron gladii, short swords designed for close combat in tight formations. Their pila, or throwing spears, were specifically designed to break upon impact, preventing enemies from throwing them back. Qin's crossbows could strike from a distance, but once a Roman formation closed in, their shield and sword tactics were lethal.
And let's not forget the mass production techniques used by Qin's workshops. Standardized weapons meant that soldiers could replace broken equipment quickly, keeping their forces battle-ready at all times.
The Romans also had standardized equipment, but their armor was superior. Qin soldiers typically wore lamellar armor made of small plates, which offered good protection but was weaker against piercing strikes. Romans, on the other hand, had larica segmentata, layered iron armor that provided excellent defense against slashes and thrusts.
Discipline and organization alone wouldn't have won Qin an empire. Their battlefield tactics were equally terrifying. Qin commanders favored swift and decisive engagements, using shielded infantry formations to hold a line, while crossbowmen rained deadly volleys on enemy ranks.
That sounds effective, but the Romans had something even more famous, the Testudo, or tortoise formation. In this formation, soldiers locked their shields together on all sides, creating near-total protection against projectiles. Crossbows might struggle to break through a testudo unless fired at very close range.
Another key advantage was Qin's use of psychological warfare. They were known for executing captured enemies and parading their heads, a brutal but effective way of striking fear into rival states.
Rome was no stranger to psychological warfare either. They made an example of defeated enemies by crucifying rebels and utterly destroying cities that resisted, like Carthage. In a head-to-head match, both sides would fight fiercely, knowing what awaited them if they lost.
So, if the Qin army and the Roman legion clashed, who would have the upper hand? Let's set the scene. A large open battlefield, equal numbers on both sides. Qin deploys its crossbowmen in the rear, with shielded infantry forming the front line. The Romans, in contrast, advance in their classic testudo formation, ready to break through enemy lines.
At long range, Qin has the advantage. Their crossbows could inflict heavy casualties before the Romans even got close. But once engaged in melee combat, the Romans' superior armor, short swords, and formation discipline would turn the tide. If the battle turned into prolonged hand-to-hand fighting, the Romans would likely emerge victorious.
However, Qin's strategies weren't just about brute force. Their ability to conduct fast-paced maneuvers and their psychological tactics might disrupt the Romans' rigid formations. The key to victory would be whether Qin could break the Roman lines before they close the distance.
It's a fascinating comparison because these two military systems were optimized for completely different kinds of warfare. Rome excelled in expansion and long-term occupation, while Qin was built for swift conquests and maintaining absolute control over its territories.
The Qin army was more than just a force of conquest. It was a revolution in military strategy and organization. Their methods shaped the future of Chinese warfare, setting the foundation for the great dynasties that followed. But against Rome, the outcome remains one of history's greatest what-if scenarios.
So what do you think? Would the disciplined ranks of the Roman legion withstand the precision and firepower of the Qin army? Or would Qin's tactics disrupt the Roman formations before they could even reach close combat? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.
And if you want to see more of these historical what-if battles, make sure to subscribe. We have plenty more to explore in China's epic history.